Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money-colored commentator. On today's show, demystifying your financial statements, part 2 in our Wiser Advisor series, the financial advisor, Marcy Maslov, CPA. Welcome to the show, Marcy.
Hi, thanks Steve for having me.
Well, first of all, I bow down to your CPA-ness and think of that. I'm looking at something that I saw. I heard you speak, and that's why you're here.
Right.
I got to tell you, I've never seen financial statements, bank statements, P&L statements, you name it, the most neglect. These are supposed to be our reference points.
Right.
And they are the most neglected part of our understanding. And not just on the client level, but I think some advisors are not there as well. Tell me a little bit about what you've discovered, because I find your take extremely unique and anomalous in our big picture of financial advisors.
That's right. So when I talk, I actually start by saying, Steve, if you're like every business owner that I work with, your financial statements are crying. They're really sad because you're not paying attention to them. What I'm finding is truly that accounting and finance and the financial statements for a business owner is the one area that they have no control. They don't understand what's going on. They don't know how to track what they do in physical form to what shows up on their numbers. And so they push it off. They hate it. They hate the math.
How can they run their business then if that's true, Marcy?
Well, it's a little scary how some people run their businesses. They go by gut instinct.
Is this why people get eaten alive in the Shark Tank by Kevin O'Leary?
This is exactly why. Exactly why. Yeah. Yes. And they don't know who to go to ask questions. They may go to their bookkeeper or their CPA, but their CPA is somebody who does their taxes for them, doesn't necessarily understand their business or their operations or how they work. And so the CPA or the bookkeeper may not be able to answer those questions for them.
So they're just doing the retro accounting.
They're doing the historical.
There's nothing proactive about what most accountants do.
Right.
Now your area, you've sliced a pie here. You're in the small business and entrepreneurial section. Any better there, or just the same problems?
They're the same problems. And what I learned, so I spent 25 years in the Fortune 500 space, Pepsi, Motorola, 20th Century Fox, learning to analyze financials, learning to explain what happened in a month and explain those to the big bosses, the CFOs of the companies. And what I have realized is that small business doesn't have that analyst. They don't have that person to look at their numbers and look at how things have happened and explain, well, you missed your budget this month because the machine went down or because that contract didn't come through or what have you. So I have carved out a niche, and small business is actually in worse shape because they don't know who to go to. They don't have resources. And they also don't understand the difference between financial and managerial accounting.
Well, what is that difference? Because I've heard you talk about this.
Right.
What is that difference?
Right. So financial is, the financials that you know and recognize in your practice. It's an income statement, a balance sheet, cash flow, but it's in a specific format. And it is summarized. It's highly summarized. It tells you the past, your historical numbers. It is designed to follow generally accepted accounting principles, which is standards that we have to follow. So you have to report revenue a certain way. You have to report expenses that match those revenues, et cetera. Managerial, on the other hand, is more internal use. It is the cash flow, not a formal statement, but looking at the bank or understanding your break even, which is the point at which you cover all your expenses and start making a profit. Managerial is more detailed, and it's ad hoc reporting. It is much more geared towards running a business day to day, and it's geared towards internal, whereas your financial is geared to tax or IRS or external people that you don't want to have a whole lot of detail about your business.
Well, let me ask you, do you think most small businesses, they understand an analyst for a Fortune 500 club,
Sure.
At that level, but how do you bring that down to this size?
Right. So the very first thing I do is I look at their financial statements and I take a look at where their cost of product is versus their operating expenses. That's usually the very first place that I find problems. And I have enough experience that I can look at a financial statement and within 20 minutes find mistakes in their books. I can find areas where they might be able to need a little help.
Now, you're not just talking mathematical
and I'm not
mistakes
talking
here, right?
math. I'm talking.
You're talking about
I'm talking real, true, honest to good mistakes that if we fix those bookkeeping mistakes, could generate cash for them, make their profit a little higher. Some cases maybe make their profit a little bit lower because they made mistakes. So that's what I used to do in the big companies, and now I'm taking that down to the more practical level of a small business.
So let me just stop here, because that would be huge in my audience here, because about 20% of my audience is small business and entrepreneurs.
Right.
Creating cash flow that I didn't know about is a big issue. So,
and I've done that for clients.
Okay,
I've saved a few clients.
I'm looking at the bank, this is all the money I have, but you're saying, no, you have a way to look at something and create cash flow.
Exactly right. The biggest question that I get is, why doesn't my net income match what's in my bank account, right? That's one of the biggest questions I get. And it's not supposed to. So I explain some of those basic concepts and explain why your net income is going to be different from your cash in your bank. And I look at things from a very, I'll call it street smarts way, right? A more fun way, I guess you could say, because I'm going to be giving my business owner clients their power back. I'm going to be giving them more predictability. If they have a good strategic plan and budget, I can actually tell them some of the stories the financial statements tell us that my business owners don't see because they don't know how to read their financials.
I notice you talk about this all the time. You say there's 3 financial statements that you need to become good friends with.
You absolutely need
Talk
to
about those 3.
Absolutely. So there's 3. There's the income statement, right? That's like your scorecard or your report card. We never really finished going to school, right? So the income statement is our report card for a year. It tells us how much profit or loss we've made. It tells us the grade that we got for the year. At the end of each year, we close that report card, we roll it into our balance sheet, and we start over. The balance sheet is the second financial statement. And that is telling us how much we're worth at any given point in time. So if you're a business owner and you're thinking about selling your business, the balance sheet is going to tell you the value that you have generated over the years. And it starts from the day you open your business until today, right now, this minute. You could run a balance sheet right now and tomorrow another one, and you'll get a different result if you have been up to date with your bookkeeping. And the third statement is your cash flow. And that tells you your sources, where you're getting your money from, clients, we hope, and maybe some other packages of things that you're doing. And then it also tells you the uses of cash. But I give you a cash flow template that's a lot easier than the standard format, because the typical format in a QuickBooks or a Xero software package, they don't do a great job of giving you a cash flow statement.
You just brought up something, I'm a big fan of Shark Tank. I am. I never seen anybody hammer the cash flow items. I mean, Kevin O'Leary's all over this all the time because he's an investor. And if they don't have cash flow, he doesn't know how he's going to get repaid.
Exactly right.
So you shouldn't be going to an investor or trying to expand your business, bringing other people in shareholders, because you don't even have a cash flow statement that says how they're going to get paid.
And most business owners, they think they have one statement, the income statement. I have actually had clients who have never prepared financial statements in their years of business. And they think that what they've given as a Schedule C for the IRS is their financial statement. So they don't even know they have a balance sheet or a cash flow. And so cash flow for me it's actually a summary of both the income statement and the balance sheet. And it tells you a whole lot about where you're going. And the stories that these statements tell us are things like, do you have enough money to pay yourself? Do you have enough money to hire somebody? Do you have enough money, or which product is the most profitable for you? These are the stories that if you know how to read the financial statements, these are what they're going to tell you. And they also can tell you if somebody's stealing from you.
Whoa.
Because I have been doing this for a lot of years. I can look at things and say, these ratios don't look right, or your net income on your income statement doesn't match your net income on your balance sheet. So there's a mistake here. Let's go dig into it and find what's going on.
Well, when we talk about this is one of our things we want to talk about, financial literacy. I'm trying to create predictability as a business person.
Right.
You told me that if I had these 3 and I actually understood it, I could actually predict a little bit of the future.
You can.
Find out if I got a leak in my system with maybe an employee, something like that. This is freedom, really. This is financial freedom if you understand it.
Absolutely.
Now, when you come on, it sounds like when you walk in, it's like triage. I mean, this is not. You'd think this be all prepped and they just hand it to you and you make your recommendations. You usually have to start from ground zero.
Most of the time. I mean, it depends. And I have picked up clients who are very savvy and they're just frustrated because they can't get answers. And then I've had people who literally don't even know what the financials are.
And these are businesses.
These are businesses.
Yeah.
I start with where they are. I make it, the beauty of what I do is there's no criticism, there's no judgment. this is where you're starting. Let's see where you're at and let's build, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like anything else. You can't just, have a fortune without working and amassing some money and learning how to spend that. The same thing with your financial statements. Almost none of my business owner clients have ever taken an accounting class, right? And yet they're doing their accounting. They're actually themselves. Or their spouse is doing their accounting for them. And so if they've never taken a basic accounting class, how are they going to know where things go and what they mean? So I start with where they are, I assess what they know, and then from there we start building a plan. And that plan is a 90-day plan, and by the end of the 90 days, we've covered a month of income statement, a month of balance sheet, a month of cash flow, and then they're like, I got so many more questions now that I know what I'm doing. And then, I help them create a strategic plan, helps financial advisors tremendously because now they know what they're doing, and you can communicate a little bit better with them.
Well, you can't have a strategic plan without these docs.
Cannot.
Well, don't forget to watch our next segment, The Myths and Material Facts of Bankruptcy. What a follow-up. Part 3 of our Wiser Advisor series. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, and your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.